In our very first story, the Ashanti Region Police Commanders denied reports a 52-year-old man arrested for possessing a substance believed to be marijuana died in police cells. Deputy Public Relations Officer Corporal Prince Dogbache says Boaza Bawoleleyen had been remanded into custody by the court and was due to reappear today. The suspect, according to him, however, fell sick and was rushed to the Tafo Government Hospital where he died.
The deceased was arrested together with 4 other suspects for the offense of possessing narcotic drugs. And they were put before court and were duly remanded into police custody to reappear today. It is unfortunate that we lost him, but the death did not occur in the police custody. While in custody, he fell sick, and the attention of the police was drawn to that. He was rushed to the Tafo Government Hospital, and while receiving treatment, he died. So it is not correct to say that he died in police custody. That is equally not true. The disease was not beaten. And as we know, this is an unnatural death, and by law, there will be inquest into that death. And so, postmortem reports will provide the true cause of death. So, what I can say is that let us wait and get that professional information so as to know whether it was true that the police assaulted the disease before his passing.
There have been concerns about what some members of the public find a worrying trend of suspects dying in police cells. The death of a suspected armed robber, Collins Mens, arrested at Tepa, also in the Ashanti region, is the most recent until the last occurred at Moshi Zongo. The command, however, says it considers the deaths as isolated cases rather than a trend. Member of Parliament for Menchia North led a team to calm tempers as tension mounted at Moshi Zongo following the death of the 52-year-old man. Corporal Dogbache warned residents to desist from going against the law over the death.
It is unfortunate to have that consideration. The death of someone who is in the hands of police is not a desire that any police officer has. It was an unfortunate incident which we sympathize with, and we would not say because this thing has happened, so it means it is a trend. I don't know the data that is available to prove that it is a trend anyway. But what I can say is that this is an isolated case, and it is unfortunate. However, investigation or inquest will be conducted into it for us to know the real cause of the death of our brother. Meanwhile, the command would wish to seize the opportunity to caution the youth who are taking the law into their own hands by resorting to acts of violence, to desist from such acts. Ghana is a country of laws, and anybody who is found culpable with any act of hooliganism or riotous activity would be dealt with. So the youth should desist from such acts and expect that the laws of the land would work.
Lawyers for former Cocobot CEO Dr. Stephen Gupuni have told an Accra High Court that cocoa farmers who use Litrovit foliar fertilizer approved for use by Cocobot reported it induced crop growth as well as increased yield. The efficacy of the fertilizer has been questioned by state prosecutors in the case in which Dr. Puni is charged with causing financial loss to the state in the award of the fertilizer contract to businessman Seidu Agongo. Dr. Puni's lawyers, however, maintain the fertilizers have been useful to farmers. There is more in the following report.
The state's first witness, Dr. Franklin Menu Amwa, who is the executive director of the Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana, had earlier told the court the fertilizer wasn't tested on matured plants as was required. He explained this was due to a directive from then Cocoa Board boss, Dr. Opuni, who asked for approval of the fertilizers. Dr. Menu Amwa was on Monday cross-examined by lead counsel for Dr. Opuni, Samuel Kujo. Mr. Kujo insisted the Cocoa Health and Extension Division, a wing of Cocoa Board that interacted with farmers, had captured in its report that farmers were satisfied with the fertilizer. He also confronted Dr. Amwa with his witness statements given by the Economic and Organized Crime Office, in which he reiterated head of CHED Dr. Francis Barnes' views that the reports on the fertilizer use were positive. Dr. Amwa disagreed with this assertion. He told the court the views of CHED could not be the basis for a renewal of a certificate of a fertilizer. He further stated that his reference to reports of fertilizer's efficacy was simply a repetition of what Dr. Barr told the current government's transition team that dealt with issues relating to Cocoa Board. Dr. Amwa argued its Cocoa Research Institute that is responsible for testing fertilizer and getting responses from farmers on its effectiveness. The survey conducted by Chair Dr. Amwa maintained is for consumption of its management, while that of CRIC will determine whether a chemical should be accepted for renewal or not. Hearing of the case resumes on October 10.
The National Commission for Civic Education has challenged the governing New Patriotic Party to demonstrate its commitment to the rule of law by causing the arrest and supporting the prosecution of members of vigilante group Delta Force. This follows the attempted attack on the Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, Dr. Anthony Akutosai, at Afupankrono. Even though the minister was whisked to safety, the action of the group disrupted the event. The pro-MPP vigilante group was allegedly agitating over the failure of government to recruit them into the country's security agencies. Addressing a news conference in Accra, chairperson of the NCC, Josephine Nkrumah, described the spate of political vigilante group activities as a national crisis that demands swift action.
Political party vigilantes have no place or space in our democratic culture. Therefore, the leadership of the NPP must demonstrate to the people of Ghana that the law applies equally to all by actively pursuing security agencies and the judiciary to swiftly and decisively prosecute vigilante groups. Political party leaders must genuinely exhibit to Ghanaians that they do respect the rule of law. They must show commitment to peace and national stability by disbanding immediately all militant groups within their rank and file. Enough of the lip service to the rule of law. The NCC holds the considered view that the apparent leniency with which Delta Force vigilantes were handled when they struck at law courts to free their fellow perpetrators has further emboldened them to continue to act with such impunity. The NCC will not cease to condemn, name and shame vigilantism and all acts of lawlessness because of the risk it poses to the country's democratic stability, social security, investor confidence, and peaceful coexistence of all Ghanaians, amongst other factors. This, for us, is a national crisis. The security agencies must hasten investigations into the latest incident and bring the deviants to book.
In condemning the actions of the Delta Force, the NCTE boss demanded that the IGP, National Security Minister, and other stakeholders disband all vigilante groups and enforce the law.
We Ghanaians demand that laws and institutions must be allowed to work without fear or favor. We demand that the laws of this country must work. Further, we implore the IGP that he must reinforce NCC's call for disbanding these illegal militant groups by effectively proscribing their activities. It is by so doing that a clear warning and lasting signal will be sent to others who are contemplating unleashing similar negative acts. The National Security Minister, the National Security Advisor, the Ghana Police Service, and all security agencies must work together to restore the confidence of Ghanaians in security and law enforcement agencies. Finally, we call on all political parties, the National Peace Council, the Christian Council of Ghana, the National Catholic Bishops' Conference, Office of the National Chief Imam, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission, civil society organizations, academia, the media, traditional rulers, and all law-abiding citizens of Ghana, irrespective of political party affiliation, tribe, religion, or social standing, to collectively raise their voices in condemnation of these dastardly acts.
New Sanitation and Water Resources Minister Cecilia Dapa says President Akufo-Addo's dream of making Accra the cleanest city in Africa is still very possible. Speaking after touring some communities to assess the sanitation situation there, she stated her outfit will be engaging some Ghanaian scientists on how to deal with the country's sanitation woes. President Akufo-Addo sometime last year made a bold declaration to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa by the end of his first term in office, an aspiration many have described as overly ambitious and unattainable.
His Excellency says, yes, it is possible. Everybody said senior high school is possible. He's done it. Inshallah, this one is very possible. Most of the garbage that is generated in the markets, they are all organic. When they even do get rotten and then the garbage is generated, we should have an organic site where it can turn into compost. You see a lot of places you have leaves falling from trees being grouped as garbage. No, these are all composts. And we even are going to clamor for small incinerators in areas that can be used. They are cheaper, and then we will make sure they are used for compost. So these are what we've seen prototypes. I've gone to see one in Kropong one time at 6 a.m. Somebody was kind enough to open the compound for me to see. We are going to engage our scientists, CSIR, tech engineers, to make sure we fashion out a solution to some of these problems. We have people who are recycling plastics. We will encourage the youth. There's a lady in Lagos who has 16,000 people signed onto her platform. 16,000. She collects primarily and sends them to a recycling plant. These are jobs that we can tap into. We don't have to wait till they are this stage. Once we see them, let us go for them and have them recycled.
Torrential rains in parts of Tautong district in the Volta region, which led to the overflow of the river Toje, has caused destruction in about 50 communities in the district. Some communities have been virtually cut off and have had to rely on canoe for transport, while about 1,000 hectares of small farms are reported to have been destroyed. The residents, however, fear the situation may worsen as the level of the river continues to rise. Fred Kwame Asare filed the following report.
Residents of Sunokpo, Bakpo, Aduto, Hikpo, Chavanya and other communities along the Toje depend largely on farming and fishing. However, a 2-hour rainfall in the area has destroyed over 1,000 hectares of farmlands, putting their livelihoods on the line. The floods, which are caused by an overflow of the Toje, have also cut off some communities, compelling residents to rely on canoes for transport. A resident, Evans Agboge, narrates how events unfolded. We have been experiencing floods, but this year's flood is extraordinary. Our food crops have perished in the floods. We are thinking of what to feed on in future. There was an earlier flood which submerged and destroyed all our farms before this current one. We are pleading with the local government to dredge the riverbeds to curtail the floods. The floods have also affected education. Some schools affected have been closed down indefinitely. Monitoring and evaluation officer of the Ghana Education Service in the South Tong district, Mark Peter Dumatonu, fears the development would affect academic performance of the people till the assembly fails to find a permanent solution to the problem.
This has been an annual ritual the students and the teachers go through in this school. The only thing I can say now is this assembly this time around should take a proactive action to solve the problem. If the school will be relocated to a new ground so that the new structure is built for them and they vacate this place, or either they look for sand fillings to fill the whole compound to raise this such that when it happens like this, the students can safely be in school and maybe cut some channels for the water to easily find its way from the complete total.
Flood water also submerged the Aduto Health Center some days ago. The South Tong District Director of the National Disaster Management Organization, Collins Avonyo, said the situation could worsen as the level of the river continues to rise.
It's an emergency situation now. Region, the district and national have to come because the school children, all the communities that is affected now, their farmland, they lost their crops, need emergency attention because the market cannot cross the road. All the roads are all flooded, all the schools, all the communities, and we don't know when it will stop because we want to look at the way the water is coming up. And the main source of the water is coming up, so meaning all the areas that have been affected and eventually, if the water is still coming, it will submerge.
Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for South Tong, Kobla Woyome, is calling for the dredging of the river basin to enable it to accommodate enough water during the rains.
There's been a call on the central government because of the way it is. It is required that some intensive dredging is done, to actually clear the waterway, and so that whenever it overflows its banks, we will not see situations like destructions of properties because of definitely water finding its course when it is impeded. And so this is what is really the main problem.
Fred Kwame Asare for joining.
The Mental Health Authority is blaming the recent bank collapse for what it says has been a surge in the number of young people who are living with mental health problems. The authority is linking the surge in cases to the thousands who were laid off when the Bank of Ghana withdrew the licenses of 7 indigenous banks for a number of reasons. Director of the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, Dr. Pinamanga Pao, says a lot could change if economic conditions improve. F1 Evans Chinri reports.
The banking crisis led to job losses for many breadwinners. The dependents of these people suffer many conditions, including depression. Acting Director of the Ankafo Psychiatric Hospital, Kwadwo Mafu Obeng, says the pressure on many families is to blame for the situation.
Our current social structure is very, very unhealthy for children. That kind of interaction that some of us got with our parents is now missing in a lot of Ghanaian families, particularly urban families. You are not getting time to know your parents. Your parents are not getting time to know their children. Often when we have people come to the hospital with addiction problems and we mention some of the things that have been going on, how long the person has been using the substance for, the parents are often surprised because you don't have time to know your children. You would say, oh, wait, but they have the weekend. The weekend, you are tired from that long week. Your day starts at 4 and ends at 9 or 10. The weekend is when you sleep. and then Sunday they're going to church. So even the weekend crowd, they don't get time to know their children and even know each other. Husbands and wives don't even know each other anymore, let alone the children that are suffering as a result of this.
According to the Mental Health Authority, half of all mental health illness begins at the age of 14, but most cases go undetected and untreated. In terms of burden of the disease among adolescents, depression is the third cause. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among 15 to 29-year-olds. This, the director of the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, Dr. Pinaman Apal, says it's time government prioritized mental health in the country.
If their parents are economically tight, should we say are economically tight, then automatically it would affect them, right? So they go to school and then they find that others are bringing things to school that they do not have access to. Or if nowadays you realize that they are doing so much photocopies and so on, you realize this person does not have money to photocopy and all those things. So indirectly, it's transferred from the parents to the youth.
The Mental Health Week was launched today and will be marked with various activities, including a public lecture at the British Council Hall.
Now, the Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, Kwadwo Sofri, has called on government to allow forestry guard to shoot to kill. He said such a directive will ward off the activities of illegal chainsaw operators in the country. According to him, the only way the nation records could be stopped from the illegal activities to preserve the country's forest reserves is for government to sanction their policy. Sir John made these comments after the latest attack on a military officer and a member of the task force at Sefioso.
Opia we are done, we are genio, now we are 2 years. That's also on penny for ball pass it. No bad,
no matter who you are, we will arrest you. If you really have the love of your country, you won't do this. If after arresting you and you go demonstrating against us, I don't care. The soldiers will be on guard. And if anyone tries to operate illegally, they'll shoot and kill.
Se ameni amre nie ja wonu ma o me se de kwaye ya kwaye uba ubesu we for Ghana hwe nie gua na anya wreho.
The chief executive has meanwhile been explaining that what he meant by the shoot to kill policy. He told Joy News' Evans Mensah on Newsnight that it was more to protect the forest guards.
There are several solutions to that, but for us one of the most effective would be to confront these miscreants head on. You see, most of them are armed. They go to the bush, threaten to kill our own staff who are monitoring and patrolling these areas. And we have had instances of where some of our staff have been shot. Others have been, received machete wounds, and so on and so forth. And in one instance, one of our guards was arrested, stripped naked, and paraded through the township, all to put the fear of the Lord in my staff. And so it is right that we should have draconian measures that will stop this. The rate at which this menace is being undertaken, if we are not careful, by the year 2020, we will not have anything to call forest in the western region or in any part of the country. And so we are dead serious about what we are saying.
So you will kill them. So you will kill them, Sir John. Is that what it is? So you are ordering that they should be killed?
No, not at all. I do not have that power, which is why we said that we will speak with authorities that be, and then to see whether or not we have to change our mode of patrolling and ensuring that the forest is protected. I do not have the power to kill anybody. I don't even, bear arms, and remotely we cannot do that. But we said that we will speak to, those in authority.
Meanwhile, some forestry officials are suspected to connive with illegal loggers and other encroachers to destroy forest reserves in the Western region. Land and Natural Resources Minister Kweku Asoma-Treme wants investigations into the conduct of such personnel, he says, have questionable character. He was on an inspection visit to see over 200 pieces of wood beams and doors seized by Joint Military Forestry Commission Task Force at Ifi Buako and Drabuso. Oiminteria has more.
Huge quantities of commercially valued tree species such as Mansonia, mahogany, asamfra and odum are targeted by illegal operators. The African teak and other extinct species have not been spared in the sea, Krokosia, Tandosushen, Moro and other reserves. Mr. Asoma-Treme expressed shock at the level of destruction in forest reserves, especially in the Western region.
So I'm surprised that it always happens this way. And you see some members of the Forestry Commission coming up to conduct themselves as if they were not aware. That is the issue.
Does it mean that you suspect some forest officials are in bed with these illegal actions?
Yes, I suspect so. I suspect so. Because ordinarily, how do you expect that you are a TO or a TA assigned to a particular forest and you wouldn't know that some equipment have been taken to the forest? Wood misers, they are producing doors over there, cutting the trees into billets.
The Joint Military Forestry Task Force is on a mission codenamed Operation Hot to clamp down on chainsaw operators and sawmillers on the fringes of reserves. Mr. Asoma-Treme calls for investigations into the operations of forestry officials in affected reserves.
This is the dereliction of duty, and that calls for total investigation. The matter will be investigated. It will be investigated jointly with the authorities of the Forestry Commission and with the ministry. We will set up a committee to investigate this. So all those officers who are or were in charge of the affected forests in this area, the catchment area where this lumber came from.
Chief Executive of Forestry Commission, Kojo Ousafiye, acknowledges armed attack by encroachers on forestry personnel makes some of them powerless. He, however, welcomes the minister's call for investigation to expose the badness.
There appears to be, a system failure, and as a result of that, people take their eyes off and then let these things happen. But having said that, I also sympathize with my own men. Sometimes they are not properly and effectively, resourced and armed to be able to undertake the exercise that we are asking them to do. And these guys who are stealing, the logs and others, they are armed to the teeth. From time to time, I have reports that some of my men have been beaten, to pulp. Some have been shot. Some have received machete, wounds.
From Drabuso, in the Western region, for Joy News, Ohiminteria reports.
Ghana is close to reaching universal access in immunization for all children, but several others, especially those in hard-to-reach communities, are being left behind. In the following report from the Upper West Region village of Biro, my colleague Justice Bedu reports on how vaccines are helping address infant mortality, while shortages put the lives of thousands of children on the line.
Baby Peter's life was nearly snuffed out 3 months ago. Aged 6 months, he was weighing barely 4 kilos, less than half of what he should be weighing ideally. The mother, looking on pensively, has had to walk for nearly 2 hours to reach this health center, where vaccines and food supplements for children like hers are being administered. After 3 months of this routine, her baby is back to normal, now weighing 17 kilos.
I
have peace of mind. Previously, my child and I could not sleep in the night because of sicknesses. Both of us can now sleep well. It's a great thing.
Biro, the community where this health center is located, like many in rural Ghana, is heavily impoverished. It's tough getting medical essentials like vaccines here. Sunyoro Patrick, the health assistant here, tells of the impact vaccines have had in keeping children alive.
Because of the immunization, now they don't visit the clinic often with their sick children, and then those days we see children that are suffering from polio and other things, then their children are deformed. For now, it has been very helpful to them and their families, so they don't get some of those sickness. And then the TB, for instance, now we don't get children having a TB.
No child under age 5 has died here since 2015. Now, for a region that has one of the highest child mortality rates, that is huge progress. But now there are major challenges that means accessing the vaccines themselves is a problem. Centers like these where they are administered are few and far in between. Sometimes even the money to purchase them is a problem. And so communities like Biro would have to wait.
9 out of every 10 children in Ghana have now been given vaccines against the 6 childhood killer diseases. For 10 years, there has been no reported case of polio. Neonatal tetanus has been eradicated, and since 2003, there has been no reported case of death from measles. This is progress, but no child should be left behind. Despite these successes, efforts at reaching universal coverage of life-saving vaccines have stagnated for years. Every day of delay means the life of another child is being put on the line. Justice Beidou, Joy News, Bureau in the Upper West region.
The Africa Center for International Laws and Accountability, ACILA, is calling on government to, as a matter of urgency, ensure the full implementation of the Persons with Disability Act 715. Officials say failure to implement the law, the absence of the implementation, has resulted in scores of challenges confronting PWDs in Ghana. This was revealed at a 3-day panel discussion on human rights by the group and other stakeholders. Love FM's analysis Mensa witnessed the event and spoke to stakeholders and filed this report.
Ghana's Disability Law Act 715 was passed in 2006, aimed at ending the discrimination that faces people with disabilities. A 10-year moratorium given by the Act for old buildings to be renovated to disability-friendly status has elapsed, but some public buildings are still not observing it. Stakeholders are worried the rights of the about 10% of Ghana's population who are persons with disability are being restrained as a result. Dr. Augustine Anami is a lecturer at the Faculty of Social Work, University of Ghana.
When it comes to RAMs, what we have realized is that organizations are putting in place RAMs. But the RAMs, the majority of them are not usable. Like I said earlier on, they are either very steep or they are narrow. Sometimes it's also because they don't consult persons with disabilities before they put up the structures. If they consult them, probably they could help in terms of helping them putting up a ramp design that would be more usable or more friendly. I remember one of the Barclays banks where I do my banking, when they were putting up the ramp, they consulted me from the beginning to the end. They asked me how to go about it, and the ramp that they set up was a very usable ramp that I use. What people don't realize, what organizations don't realize, is that most times the ramps that they put the persons with disabilities don't even use them because they are not usable. They can't use them. But if they take the time and talk to persons with disabilities or people who are knowledgeable usable in their issues, who can help them design a ramp that is standardized in a way that is gentle to make them usable. Maybe it will be more helpful for all of us.
Cost of access to justice is a major hindrance to human rights, surfaced as a theme during the panel discussion. Experienced broadcast journalist and lawyer Efia Pokia is therefore calling for firm implementation of human rights laws.
But if you have had a stint with the law, even if you had a matter, you've taken it to the police station, or you've had a problem with somebody, a tenant in the house, you've gone to the police station and you're expecting the police to at least make an effort to even document your statement. The police says, Madam, we don't have a car. We can't go here. Then you appreciate that access to justice is very key. So even if me and you, who we perceive ourselves as able bodies, are having difficulty in accessing protection, which is enshrined as a basic tenet in our 1992 Constitution, then imagine if the person is one of those vulnerable groups, a refugee, a stateless person, somebody who doesn't come from anywhere, or somebody who is from Burkina. These days, we have Chinese people in Ghana. They're almost like an endangered species.
Reporting for Joy News, Nana Sensumenza.
Vice President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRA, Jacob Gonaba Anaba, has questioned the basis for which Timpani SHS headmaster was suspended. According to him, there was a need for the Director General of GES to give fair hearing to the headmaster before taking the decision to suspend him. The suspension follows a viral video in which an NDC activist, Joshua Kamba, was seen interacting with the students of the school amidst chanting of NDC slogans. Mr. Naba, however, said they will conduct their own investigations and make their findings known on the matter.
The directive didn't even quote part of the code to back its powers. Because if the Director General, you are making a directive which is part of our code, which you are aware of, you have to state that section of the code to buttress your points. It wasn't stated, but you are rather attacking the comment made by the politician allegedly against the sitting president, which to me, well, is good because the language may be very bad, but that is not the substance. That is not the issue. The issue is whether the politician was allowed by the head to undertake a political activity in the school. Our understanding, and according to the story we hear, the school is an open place. There is a road that passes through the school. It is not an enclosed place. Security-wise, it is very bad. So anybody that passes through that school can have interaction with the students. And a politician has taken advantage of. They did not write to the headmaster asking for permission to undertake this activity, and the headmaster sanctioned. So why are you making the headmaster liable for such an activity? First of all, you have to get a report. He has not even given you a report. So based on what are you suspending him? PSA.
So you're opposed to the suspension?
That is, I mean, at the last CHAS conference in Kumasi, my president, and Kabono, made that statement emphatic that the directorate, the ministers, or the minister, for that matter, powers that be, do not need to run to the media to make such pronouncements. We have asked our regional secretariat to investigate. We also get our side of the story. The committee, as the director has indicated, will be set out and will be part of that committee. And whatever comes out will be part of the deliberation.
Well, former President John Dramani Mahama has chastised the governing New Patriotic Party for failing to fulfill promises it made in the run-up to the 2016 election. The ex-president, who is campaigning to lead the NDC in the next election, noted most of the NPP's promises, including the one village, one dam, one district, one factory, and $1 million per constituency, are all yet to be fulfilled. Mr. Mahama was speaking at Lasia Tuolu in the Wa West constituency of the Upper West region, from where Rafiq Salam reports.
Former President John Dramani Mahama began his second day of his campaign tour of the Upper West region at Logo in the Wa East constituency to meet polling station members. He told the supporters that the NDC has a better chance of returning to power in 2020. The Wa East constituency parliamentary seat its traditional and NDC seat, but the party lost it to the MPP in the 2016 elections. Mr. Mahama admonished members of the party to work hard to return the party to power.
We lost this seat in the last election because of a few misunderstandings amongst ourselves. We don't want that to happen in 2020 again. And so we must be united. If we select one person as the parliamentary candidate, let us all support the person so that the person can win and advance the cause of the NDC. Because they say what? God's time is the best. Today is this person's time. Tomorrow will be another person's time. The way you support the person who has won to be able to do his job is the way you will be supported tomorrow when you also become the candidate to be able to win and do your job.
Mr. Mahama earlier paid a courtesy call on divisional chiefs in the district. The situation at Wuchao, capital of the Wawes district, was not different as chiefs from the area expressed satisfaction President Mahama intends to contest for the flag bearership. The former president rounded his campaign tour of the Wawes constituency with a meeting with delegates and supporters of the party at last year Tolu. He chastised the governing New Patriotic Party for failing to fulfill promises made to Ghanaians.
But the point is, if you overpromise and you win political power and you can't deliver, then you create disappointment in the people for our democracy. And so before the last election, one district, one factory. Maybe while West, you've got your factory. You haven't got your factory. You know, one village, one dam. So that one village, one dam, really there was nothing in it. It's one village, one dugout. And even the dugout, where is it? The dugouts are not even there, you know. But the worst one was the $1 million per constituency. People don't add the other part. It's $1 million per constituency per year. Per year. And we're in the second year, so you're supposed to have received $2 million by now.
Mr. Mahama said, judging from the hardship the MPP has unleashed on Ghanaians, coupled with the zeal at the grassroots of the party, there is no doubt that the NDC will return to power.
But I'm sure, and I feel in my heart, especially when I see our new branch executives, I see the determination in your eyes. I talk to the constituency executives, the regional executives. Everybody is united to work to get NDC back. And I'm sure that come 2020, by God's grace, NDC will win the elections again.
Mr. Mahama later in the day made similar campaign tour to the Lara and Nandom constituencies. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Lasie Tuolu.
All right, so before I I take a break to bring you sports news, many of you will be wondering what these are doing here on the desk. They look gold, and they are gold, and well, it's not exactly gold. You're not alone if you're wondering what they are. I put a photo of these things on Facebook at my desk. And let's check out some of the comments that we're getting. So it says gold. Tonight on Joy News Prime, cowbell in the sky, hashtag cowbell in the sky, as you can see there. So let's scroll and check out the comments. Sapon Kelvin says, you know what? I'm an electrical engineer working at ECG, but this man has really brought journalism close to me, perhaps thinking of doing it at my leisure. God bless you, Brother Israel. Pascal Owusu says, please, Israel, you are a fine journalist and TV personality. I never expected this kind of attitude from you, of all people. Why are you so happy because someone is in crisis? Remember the Bible says something about this. And in Konya case says, aren't those the gold bars you got from the Men's Gold London branch? And Nene says, may all my against men be squeezed in one corner office like this. Oh. And Kolok says, did you steal them from Men's Gold office in London? And Kukuadai says, stop teasing. Real men don't do that. Okay, come back. So let's come back into the studio. So these are actually gifts from Cowbell. So it's actually Cowbell. And the reason why they've brought these to us, they said we should give it out to people who, we're going to be running a quiz or some promotion of some sort, and we're going to award the winners an opportunity. 2 people, we're looking for 2 people who are going to fly in the hot air balloon. The hot air balloon that I flew sometime last week. We're looking for 2 people who are going to fly. It is the people who lose the competition who are getting these ones from Cowbell. Lovely gift packs from Cowbell. And so, no, this is not what you're thinking. This is no gold. And I'm not trying to tease anybody. I'm just doing this promotion sanctioned by the company. It is for Cowbell. If you can see, Cowbell Gold. So, please. And that'll be it for the bulletin. My name is Israelite. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good night.